welcome. This is Kevin Allen right here on the Be Better podcast. Today we have a special guest calling in from a undisclosed location. This guy is so important we can't even get technology to connect with him.
Not that important.
My friend from Connecticut, actually, I had the pleasure to meet him when I was in that former life as a politician up in Hartford. But you can see this guy every morning on Fox and Friends, right? Is it Fox? What is it? What is it called? Fox
and Friends first. We are on bright and early, 5 a.m. Eastern time.
There it is. And I got Todd's picture up in front of me. You guys don't need to see my photo because this handsome fellow right here, he's doing it every day on Fox and Friends. And you've been in the media industry I was checking, your little bio trying to get ready, even though I know you a little bit. But you went to school, was it college out in California?
I went to law school out there on the campus where we're seeing the insanity that we're watching right now.
That's incredible. I appreciate you bringing that up. Like, what's going on? Like,
I graduated. This is not a joke. From the far edge of the encampment. Okay, I graduated. The physical graduation ceremony was probably 20 yards from the far edge of that encampment. I mean, think about that. That's close, man. That's real close. And it just makes me really sad because when I went there, look, everybody was their own unique person. Everybody brought something to the table, and we don't all agree on everything. But at the same time, what we're seeing on campus right now is sad, and what happened to UCLA is sad, and what happens at Columbia is sad. This is not how our country is supposed to be. And the only thing that's happening is the terrorists are winning. People who want the end of America are winning, and it's sad.
It is sad. And again, we're on with Todd Piro, our friend from Fox and Friends Early Edition. He's got a stellar career and has successfully been doing the news there for many years. But you're talking about that California experience when you went to college. And as we're seeing in Columbia, New York, where you obviously go to work every day, there's an epidemic of uprisings of confused young people in this country. And I want to ask you, why? Why is this? Why? I mean, when you have young students that are out there causing this kind of stuff in the name of Palestine, when in fact most of these people, or if they want to celebrate the LGBT, whatever it is, they would get killed over there. They don't even know what they're actually celebrating. So what's your take on why we're actually experiencing this in America?
Because these individuals were easily radicalized, and they are weak individuals. Just look at your screens. You see the people that are ultimately the ones that are participating. They just look weak to the eye, okay? And so you have to question what their home is. You have to question who they are as people. And then they get into these institutions where professors prey on them. And they prey on the weak-minded. And they prey on those that don't come to the fore with a set of pre-established values. So you get that. They're radicalized in the schools. And then TikTok organizes them, right? It organizes them into the scenes that you see on your screen. And it really is a masterful display in Marxism. But it's really sad what it is doing to our country and our institutions. And, you look at the kids at Ole Miss, these kids aren't Ivy Leaguers. They're not, quote unquote, as smart as the Ivy Leaguers, but what do they come from? They probably come from good families, good values. They're just a bunch of good old Southern boys. And, they're not being swayed by the crap that's being fed them by their Marxist professors. Yeah. They're standing up to this stuff. You look at UNC, the frat boys, they're standing up to it. And frat boys always get like a bad rap, right? But they're standing up to this because they themselves are not weak-willed. They're strong-willed.
And, that's important that there is some promise that the future, as a parent, yourself and myself, that we're going to have a future that has some people with common sense and sanity. The institution of education and, Todd, we haven't talked in a while, and this is the Be Better podcast. We got rid of the brand, the Kevin Allen Show, and the political debates and all that. We talk politics because they currently affect everything we do, but we try to talk about how we can be a better, person in this world. And I know you make that attempt every time. But this institution you talk of, this education, how do we straighten that out? Because there's a lot of funding, as you know. I'm very well aware of the funding here in Connecticut as a lawmaker. You know how that works across the nation. How do we straighten out the funding that goes to these resources to fund the crazy?
multifaceted approach. First off, the donors have to say, my money is done. And when the big donors, the ones that are significant donors, start ditching, that's when the college is going to pay attention. The next step is parents stop sending their tuition dollars. And then the third is government funding. But the problem is I don't see 2 and 3 happening because our governments are right now being run by the left, and the left needs the college system. And so it's a symbiotic relationship between them. The parents, look, at the end of the day, I think if a parent has an opportunity to send their kid to Columbia, they probably are going to do it just because, it's been beaten into them for years that Columbia is the way to go. And there are going to be enough that say, I know they had some trouble recently, but, and so it really comes down to number one, I think, more than anything, the big money donors, the Wall Street. And this is where, you see a lot of people who are involved in Jewish causes stepping up, but it needs to sort of expand beyond just our Jewish brothers and sisters to more people. And if that happens, maybe there'll be some change.
Maybe we'll just keep praying for that. And of course, being better every day is what we should get up and aspire to. Todd, one of the questions that we hear often is, this whole divide. And a lot of the times, and you're a media professional, so it's a fair question. Media gets labeled as sort of the instigators in a lot of these situations. And, without getting into the divided, that over this, or, this particular platform over the other, how responsible is media in some of this and in general? Do you think they have some responsibility?
Absolutely. Absolute responsibility. But where is the accountability ultimately going to lie, and with whom, and who is going to enforce that accountability? I raise that question to you because you and I can talk in vacuums, right? About how bad things are and who's responsible. But unless there are real consequences, not just in this scenario, but throughout our society, without real consequences, real insanity happens. And that's what we're doing right now. I mean, you look at our streets well before any of this violence that we've seen on campus. But you look at our streets, if you're a criminal and there are no consequences to you being a criminal, guess what? You're going to continue to be a criminal. And just think about that for a moment. That is terrifying for our nation. So unless we get that under control, unless we get these kids under control, these campuses under control, nothing's going to change. And you need strong leaders to do that. And so those leaders who aren't stopping this, they're ultimately responsible, to your point.
Yeah, it seems like, there's a lot of that responsibility that gets shucked. And of course, we're in a 2024 election year, and I'll save that conversation for another time when I got some energy. I just, I don't feel like I know there's a lot more things we could talk about. So I'm glad we opened up with that. You went to school out there. It's got to be disappointing to see on your alma mater, this place that you probably have so many amazing memories, fall victim to some of this crazy. And so a lot of that drives us in our country, Todd, comes down to the family, the lack of family values. And I know Christianity is a big conversation. Can I shift over to some of that talk about
Absolutely, because it's at the core of all this. It's at the core.
Right. And so you're right. And when you think about the core of where we are, it's like thinking okay, how come there's an argument about having God in our world, in our lives in America? It seems like if you are brave enough, Mark Wahlberg, for example, he every day prayed up. He gets out there and does his thing. He seems to get away with it in Hollywood, but everyone else seems to be getting canceled. Your opinion of the attack on Christianity in America?
I can answer that one quickly, because if you have Mark Wahlberg in a movie, it's going to make money, and money is everybody's God in Hollywood above all else. So there's your quick answer to Wahlberg. But you can also look at where movies and much of Hollywood is financed. It's financed from those same individuals, those same countries that want to see our downfall. A lot of the money that goes into Hollywood is from China, and they actually don't care if they make a profit. And you see that with things like TikTok. They're like, we'll shut down TikTok. We don't care. Because TikTok serves a bigger goal to them, which is the downfall of the United States, which they think.
So I'm streaming on TikTok now, Todd. Should I get off of TikTok? Is that true?
They're gonna shut this down. But look. The overall point is, I once had a law school professor, my entertainment law professor said, and I didn't know this at the time, but now I know it, and it all kind of jives together. Most everything in Hollywood doesn't make money. You have to keep that in mind. And so there are a lot of people getting rich in Hollywood, but the ultimate product that is produced 99% of the time isn't making money. We all see the 1% that is, because that's the stuff that's in advertisements, that's the stuff that we watch. But the other crap isn't making money. So how is it being financed? It's being financed from the Chinese. Mm-hmm. And it's being financed from actors that want America's downfall. And again, the reason they're financing is not to turn a profit. The reason you and I would finance something, it's to precipitate the downfall of America. And that is concerning. And that is why we need to wake up. And that's why you don't see strong Christian messages in movies. You don't see strong American values in movies the way you used to. Is because the paradigm has changed.
Yeah, so true. I had the pleasure, I don't know if you ever met with Victor Avila, Agent Under Fire, incredible story as an agent down on the southern border. He shot in his head by guns from the Barack Obama administration, Fast and Furious, his partner killed. And he's actually in talks to have that story told. And, there's only one brave movie, production studio that would do it. I think we both know the studio. How do we encourage more young people to maybe get into that studio space or movie making space or, entertainment space that can think freely when it seems like that funnel is just so tight and doesn't allow it?
You got to meet the students where they are, the young people where they are. And unfortunately right now, that is, to your point, is TikTok. But you have to meet in the other areas, without a doubt, You have to engage them on campus. You have to engage them on other social media platforms. And I think you need to, if you're looking to find somebody in that world, you have to engage them in the religious institutions, in their churches, because that's where I think you're going to get the next font of talent. Is it a quick process? No, but is it one that has to happen? Absolutely.
I think so too. The industry of news and news, I guess news isn't made anymore. I don't want to say it in the wrong way. I don't know how I'm trying to say this, but
no, you're right. You're right.
News is sort of this time where it's real time, specifically real time opinions of your perspective. And so we have news that's being fed to us that sometimes you can tell right out of the box. It's obvious what side of the argument they might be on. And then there's some of these organizations that don't do it so much. What would you think as a professional in the industry? What could be done to sort of streamline without taking away First Amendment rights? And you're a lawyer, so you must be able to answer this question.
I mean, there's not much that you can do except for changing the mindset of people, because you mentioned the key thing, First Amendment. We can't stop any of the stuff that's out there unless it is you can find a nexus to a terror organization that is funding. But by and large, like, if you're a bad guy and I deem KevinAlan a bad guy, which I don't, by the way, let's make that abundantly clear.
You're a good dude.
But if I deem you a bad guy, that doesn't mean you can't fund journalism that I don't like. That's not how this whole thing works. Right. So I think it goes back to the early. You got to hit people when they're early. You got to hit them in the churches, and you got to make sure that mindset is being pervasive, so that it is the one that has the most power. And then, going back to the money, you have to hope that within our nation, the people with the money that have the most money that can outbid for something. I don't want to look at Elon Musk, but I mean, look at Elon Musk bought Twitter, converted it to X, and now, the left hates it, but it actually is a font of information, and it is a font of First Amendment freedoms, unlike the old Twitter, Now, that doesn't mean it's perfect. Mm-hmm. Obviously has a lot of faults still, but it has to be that kind of model. Somebody with a lot of money that believes in your causes, counteracting the George Soroses of the world.
Sure. It brings up a really good point. So you obviously are in the know, being a very important man in the news media.
Not important at all.
Okay, come on. This is not home. I know at home you're probably opening up cans of SpaghettiOs and emptying the trash. But here you are a big deal, especially on this platform. Thank you. In the world of No, who did you look up to inspire you in your craft of media?
I like some local guys on TV in New York. Guy by the name of Bill Butel. But again, the world was just so different back then. I like the guys on SportsCenter. So, it's less about the journalism that I was looking at and more about the performance aspect of it. And I think the reason is because kind of everybody was doing the same information, and probably leaned more left than right, but it wasn't, to the full edge of the left spectrum, like everything on the left is now. And so, every now and again, I hear my dad make a comment on something about how he felt something wasn't balanced. But by and large, it was journalism. You were getting the information you needed, and the truth was pretty easy to discern. At least that was my impression as a young child. So it really was the personalities and less of the journalism. Now, I think, there's people I watch for the craft part of this. I'm pretty far down the road to really be changing how I do the craft part of it in light of how somebody else does the craft part of it. Just because, they're paying me to be Todd. They're not paying me to be somebody else. So I kind of need to be Todd. But on the journalism aspect, I try to read everything. I try to look for stories that do provide that balance as much as they can and that are well sourced. And, there's one publication. I don't want to give them. I actually don't know if I'm allowed to do this, so I got to cover my butt. But there's one publication that I've been reading a lot lately. Their online articles seem like they're so well sourced and so comprehensive, and I'm finding a lot of information. If you're in the conservative space, you probably have heard of these guys. Again, I don't want to give them a plug, but my gosh, I think they're doing some important journalism. So that's an answer without an answer, Kevin.
No. You're in an answer, and really was like Richard Bohannon and who you call it was also Larry King. Those are radio people that I watched go radio actually into TV with Larry King, and I grew up on those voices, and I listened to them every night. I had this dream to be a radio guy. That was my dream, and then I obviously got in the wrong line. But the point is that we all have something that shapes us. And I just think those people back then, they were shaping us to be the ones that are actually the last men and women standing against freedom, because the next generation doesn't have that inspiration anymore. They're
good for you. Yeah. Today we are doing radio.
Yes. Hey, back to radio. There you know what, Todd? Such a quick-witted guy. You're smart. Have you always been like, what's your IQ? Seriously.
Well, I've never taken an IQ test.
You should. You're a bright guy. I mean, I definitely won't. I don't think I'd make it off the. They'd probably send me SSI quickly if I took one. You got a lot. Any projects coming on for Todd privately outside of what you're doing every day or anything?
Great question. I have been pitching a book, and you may ask, "Oh, what's it going to be on?" And therein lies the problem. I don't have the topic. It's really, I want to put some pen to paper because everybody here has a book. Yeah. So we're working on that, but really my outside project is I don't have a lot of time in my life to do anything other than work and family at this point. So I love both of those things. So I'm going to do both of those things really, really hardcore. Like today, I got up middle of the night and I'm not going to bed until very late. Now, granted, most of that is work. A little bit of it is checking out the Yankees, the pinstripes tonight. So hopefully they don't, play poorly like they did.
Do you get to go to the games, or you have to watch them on TV usually?
No, I don't have time to watch them on TV. Yeah. And I'm not awake to watch them on TV. Okay. So if there's a game that's on a Saturday or Sunday, what I will do is I'll have it on my phone. Yep. And I'll put the phone in a part of the house where the kids can't touch the phone to put on their videos. Sure. And I'll play with the kids and I'll check in, and then if they're up by a few runs, maybe I'll force the kids to watch the last half inning when they close it out. But yeah, that's been a change. The only real sports that I can watch because of my schedule and my life are the Sunday Giants games. And usually after about a quarter, I turn it off because they make me want to slit my wrists because they are the New York Football Giants. Yeah. And there is no team in sport that is more exasperating I think, to be a fan of than the New York Football Giants.
I have a comment on that, if I may, because being a New England fan, obviously I'm on the split of Connecticut on the northern part, and we did choose the right team in the New England Patriots. That being said, I feel like you guys are a little just too tense as fans. That's just my point.
We are.
So
we're very tense. Here's the deal. Like, I go to a Yankee game, and I'm like, Yankees are going to win because they're the Yankees. We're the best. Nobody's better than us, even in bad years. And I expect the team to win. And, yeah, I'm going to get mad when they lose, but that's fine. Giants fans are completely different. Giants fans expect the worst 24/7. We're the Debbie Downer of all sports fans. So true. Even when we win, I was shocked when we beat you twice. Yeah. We're like, what's happening? This is crazy. It was one of the happiest moments of my life when we beat you February 3rd, 2008. Excuse me,
for the record, his wife, if you're listening, it was when he met you and married you, was officially.
No, she knows. Okay. She knows that February 3rd, 2008 is right up there with the wedding and the two births. and there's no, it's top 5. I'm not going to BS you here. It is top 5. That crazy. Was a great moment for me, not for you.
Bravo to you to admit that. That's good.
But I think that it really comes from the fact that they just do so many things that just chip away. It's death by 1,000 cuts being a Giants fan, and it always has been. And then they give you that one moment, and you forget about it for a decade. But right now, that decade is over, and I'm kind of getting back to, hey, I'd like to enjoy a Sunday in the fall now. Right. I'd like to go maybe apple picking and then come home and watch a 20-10 victory. Yeah. The Giants don't win games 20-10 anymore. Yeah. If they win, it's always last minute. And when they lose, it's either on a stupid play at the last minute or they get blown out by 50. Mm-hmm. So I just want some normalcy. I want them to be a normal football team.
How's the healthcare insurance at Fox? Do they have some mental health care that we can get you to help you into the next season? Because it sounds like you need it.
They have a special Monday program just for Todd. It's called Play the Giants highlights on air, and then I yell. I just yell at the screen, and people are like, Carly gets mad because she's like, "You're so loud." I was like, I'm so angry, and they goad me. They'll put things in the scripts. To get me to read them. And I usually add.
They anchorman you? They actually do an anchorman on you?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. The true fact. Oh, this is behind the scenes stuff. This is good for another special. Maybe we'll put a black screen up and get some. This is all. So they try to goat you because would you say you're easy to goat when it comes to that particular topic, the sports teams?
Yeah, I get fired up. I take the bait easily. And, every now and again, I'll be like, guys, I'm going to rewrite that because I'm not going to say it. But usually I play ball. These kids have been up in the middle of the night. They haven't had the privilege probably of watching these games. Yeah. So, I don't want to be, I don't want to, Bigfoot them. I want to treat everybody like they worked hard. They thought that this is something that would work for the show. Right. So I'm going to indulge them in that. Kevin, I'm losing my voice talking to you.
I know. I'm sorry. How much? What do you got left? How many? A couple minutes? 3 minutes? 5 minutes? What do you got?
Yeah, because I do need to run. I need to prep. I'm doing Gutfeld today, and I'm doing another show.
Oh, you don't drop big. You're doing that after the KevinAlan show. You're doing his show after mine. Really?
I got to prep for this crap.
Oh boy! You didn't prep for me though. That's a very nice Todd obvious point you just made. Because we went through 10 minutes, folks. I'll tell you about it after I let Todd go. 20 minutes. Listen, I want to get you on screen, and also I'll be down in the city at some point doing some film work with. One of the Wu-Tang guys. We're going to be doing a little part series on PTSD.
Really?
Yeah. We got some stuff coming up. So I want to reach out. I'd love to do a sit down at a coffee shop with you, bring my camera guy down and see if we can actually get us on camera together.
Maybe my face would break the camera.
I got your face right on the screen right now. You're a good looking dude. You kind of look a little bit like the Joker right in that picture I have, but it's okay. I think Todd Piro, by the way, folks, on Fox and Friends early edition. Go and check him out. Todd, anything else you want to send people to? Just throw it out there. Anything?
Just watch Fox and Friends first, 5 a.m. every morning. If you're not up, DVR it. I think we put on a good show, and I think you'll like it.
DVR? They still have those?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. All right, Todd. Good talking to you, brother. Take care.
Likewise, brother.
God bless. There you go. My friend Todd Piro. That's from Fox and Friends. And I hope you guys enjoyed that quick interview. We would have probably had about an hour with him if we hadn't had some tech issues. But all the same, good job. Thank you, Todd.